Story 1. I suspect something between my girlfriend and my friend while we all live together. I'm really freaking out now because if what I suspect is true, this living situation is about to get really complicated. Please tell me I'm just crazy. Sorry if this is long. We are two couples living together. We all attend the same university. The apartment was originally leased by my girlfriend of about 2 years, Alexis, 22 female, and our mutual friend Brooke, 22 female. The apartment is huge and expensive. They were originally supposed to be 3 girls living there, but the last one backed out abruptly. They were planning on moving somewhere cheaper, but they put a lot of work into the apartment and loved it so much they hated the idea of leaving. I offered to move in when my lease was up in May so we could split the rent and utilities 3 ways. I was sleeping over often anyways. Both girls were absolutely ecstatic about the idea. Shortly before I moved in, Brooke started dating my best friend, Derek. This was cool because now both couples got to hang out with their best friends and significant others all at once. It seemed perfect. Derek began sleeping over a lot, and when his parents sold their house and left in October, he temporarily moved in. We haven't really pushed for him to find a new place because splitting everything 4 ways is helping all of us so much. But again, only Alexis and Brooke are on the lease. The apartment owner surprisingly does not mind as long as rent gets paid because we are always quiet. There are 3 incidents that make me think something was up. If it weren't for these combined incidents, I would never make an accusation like this because Alexa is such a sweet and shy girl and Derek has been a brother to me. They don't seem flirty, but as I mentioned before, all of us are very close friends, so we spend a lot of time together. Incident 1. MWF, Brooke and I have early classes, so we're gone by 8 a.m. Derek and Alexis start in the afternoon, so it's not unusual for them to leave together, though they usually take separate cars. One of these days, I decided to wait for Alexis outside of her class so I could surprise her with lunch. I watched everyone shuffle out of the class, but Alexis wasn't with them. I texted her asking where she was, and she replied, "Just got out of class, gonna go home to study." I called her to see if I had just barely missed her or something, and there was no response, which I considered weird because she had just texted me a second ago. She didn't answer until much later, which is also unusual for her. She's one of those girls that's often on her phone. I ran into Brooke later in the day, and she mentioned in passing that Derek had stayed home sick. She was going to bring him soup, blah blah. At that time, I didn't think much of it. When I got home later that night, I noticed Alexis's car was in the exact same spot. She usually parks in guest parking because our unit only has 3 spaces. As a result, her car moves a lot. I asked her if she'd gone to class, and she got quiet before sheepishly admitting to skipping because she felt the professor sucked at explaining things, but she knows I hate when she skips classes, something that's gotten her grades in trouble before, but she recently started doing better. I kissed her and said I trusted her judgment. While I was doing the dishes, she explained how she probably won't skip again because being bored alone in the house was the worst. I laughed and we went about our business. At night, we went to bed, and as I laid there drifting off, it hit me. She shouldn't have been alone because Derek was home sick, right? She was still up on her phone, so I popped awake and asked her where Derek was today since Brooke had said he was homesick. She seemed startled by the question, but that may have been from me being half asleep to suddenly wide awake with a random question. She said he was here a bit in the morning, but went to do errands or something. She wasn't sure. After the other incidents, I realized that the scattered way she answered this question seemed off, but that may just be my imagination. Incident 2. I went to throw some stuff out in the kitchen garbage when I noticed a condom wrapper that was the exact same brand Alexis and I use. It wasn't super visible, sort of tucked behind a cereal box, but the distinctive color caught my eye. Brooke and Derek always use a different brand, free from the University Health Center, while ours are expensive Trojans. It was weird because we usually keep the wrappers in our respective rooms' garbage cans so they never appear in the kitchen. Furthermore, because of exams and general stress, Alexis and I hadn't slept together in a few days. I didn't really dig around for a used condom or anything, I just went back to the room to check if any of ours were missing. I really couldn't tell because we buy in bulk. My first thought was that Brooke and Derek had run out and broke into our stash, and I was upset that they hadn't even asked. Later that night, I mentioned the condom wrapper to Alexis, and her eyes got wide. When I mentioned my theory, she got unusually distressed. She's always been very calm, and went on a rant about them violating our privacy. I suggested we talk to them about it, and she immediately shut the idea down and made me swear not to bring it up unless they did it again. She didn't want to have this awkward conversation, which was weird to me because we're all generally pretty open about intercourse given that we live together. Though it is possible that Alexis was being genuine because she's from a conservative small town and she doesn't talk about these things as much as we do. Incident 3. Me and Derek are cool with the dudes in the apartment next to us who are graduates from our university. We don't hang out or anything, but we have the kind of relationship where we make small talk about sports or whatever in the hall and are comfortable asking the other to keep it down without being awkward. Last Monday, during our break, I was locking up when no one else was at the apartment when I ran into one of the guys from next door. We talked about football for a bit, and then he mentioned that one of the couples in the apartment is really a fan of morning intercourse and that the walls were way too thin. I laughed because Alexis and I usually have intercourse weekend mornings when we have the house to ourselves. Brooke and Derek usually spend weekends at her parents' house about an hour and a half away. The more I thought about it later in the day, the more I realized we hadn't been having morning intercourse in about a month. On the weekends, it had been more towards the evening or not at all. Did he mean on weekdays? My heart sort of dropped. I kind of want to ask him to elaborate, but the conversation ended, and I feel like I missed my chance. Plus, it's a weird thing to ask, and I feel like I must be being paranoid. So there you have it. Am I crazy? Am I looking for signs that aren't there, or is something up? And if so, how do I proceed? I don't want to ask her just yet because 1, I don't want to come off as crazy and jealous if nothing's up. 2, if something is up, I don't want them to start hiding it better. I was thinking of dropping by one of those mornings when they're alone together, but I don't know how to time it right. If I drop by too early or late, they might get more cautious. That's a tough one because usually when I see these posts where people are like, I suspect that my partner might be doing something wrong, I usually think it's overblown and maybe they just need to communicate more, or maybe their own paranoia for whatever reason is coloring their impressions of what this other person's doing. There's so many ways in which people can misinterpret stuff. I will say these 3 things together, it does feel like it may be cause for a small amount of concern, but they're also relatively explained. So I don't know. I think you might be thinking too much about it. I would just have, open conversations with your partner and, you don't necessarily have to be like, are you cheating on me? Like, no, but just express that, I don't know what to do in this situation. It's weird, it's uncomfortable. I guess just keep your eyes open, and if more stuff seems to keep happening and things are starting to seem kind of distant with you two, you may want to have a talk with her or something, or, I don't know, talk to those neighbors and be like, hey, when'd the banging happen? When's the banging happen? Story 2. Today I effed up by not being truthful with my now girlfriend initially and coming clean about it. As with most F-ups, the origins start long before today. A year ago, my 21 male first serious relationship officially ended. With it came all the heartbreak and trauma you'd expect from being cheated on and manipulated for months. I have never before been so hurt and swore off relationships for the foreseeable future. My ex left me with a severe fear of abandonment, commitment, and a need for intimate validation caused by some pretty hurtful things she did. Fast forward 5 months, after a lot of hooking up and casual intercourse as typical in a college town, I'd done very little healing and just covered up my pain with intercourse. Until I met F. She is the single most beautiful, kind, fun-loving girl I've ever met. The second she introduced herself to me at the bar, I knew she was different. We went on a date and hooked up, but it felt way more meaningful. I began to develop feelings for her, and that terrified me. Those feelings heightened when she expressed the same back to me. With where I was at mentally, the fact that we were about to be 8 hours long distance over the summer and her own recent relationship trauma, we expressed our liking of each other but came to terms of non-exclusivity. I assured her I was telling the truth about my inability to commit at the time and wasn't just telling her that, but let her know that she's free to do whatever she wants over the summer. Working as a bartender, I had plenty of opportunities to continue casually hooking up. At first, conflicted about what I wanted, I didn't take these. I liked F after all. However, as I began to overthink, I felt as though refusing this was making me vulnerable to being hurt if I came back to school to her disinterest. To me at the time, that seemed like the exclusive commitment I was scared of. So, I had a casual hookup. Except this time, it didn't even give the temporary validation like before. It just made me more confused and like I wanted to commit even more, which scared me. I shouldn't have done it twice, but stupidly did it again. After just feeling more conflicted, I stopped, realizing it wasn't helping anything and just making my mental situation worse. While we were both free to do what we wanted and discussed this, I didn't feel right about it, especially since F and I were still texting and staying in contact. As scared as I was of committing, the idea of effing it up with F seemed way worse. So, when we got back to college and she asked about my summer, I told her I hadn't pursued anyone. While I hadn't pursued anything serious, I wasn't telling the full truth. I wish I was strong enough to just tell her everything I'd done, but decided I didn't care to know what she'd done, so I'd leave it behind me. Some months passed and we were hanging out a ton. I'm staying over at her house multiple times a week, we've gone on some amazing dates, and most importantly, despite her past trauma, she managed to heal a lot of mine. She showed me so much affection, trust, and patience while I slowly became more ready to officially make it exclusive with her. This entire time I was loyal to her and figured, as terrifying as it seemed, I was already basically her boyfriend and I didn't want to risk not getting to be hers. The months since then have been incredible. She's been everything my ex wasn't, and despite how recent it all is, I truly do love her and wouldn't do anything to hurt her. We both went home for Christmas and a few days ago, and things were normal. However, drunk on Christmas Eve, she FaceTimed me and began talking. The conversation suddenly turned to her past trauma and her expressing that she's felt distant to me lately because of an intense worry that I'm gonna hurt her in the future. Not only does this stem from her exes, but also a very rocky relationship with her father, and I gave her tons of reassurance and love as she deserves. She responded by telling me that she's going to ask me a question that I have to answer 100% honestly. I pinky promised her over the phone I would, and she asked, "Did you do anything with anybody over the summer?" I took a deep breath and knew while it would likely hurt her a bit, I had to come clean. I confessed that I had 2 random hookups, explaining to her that I didn't continue to contact them and that it was months before we became exclusive. She lost it. The hurt I saw on her face is the worst thing I've ever seen. She explained that she was loyal to me all summer and that she feels like she was in love with a lie. I've tried to express to her how sorry I am, how much I regret it, and how I was in a completely different headspace. I've assured her that's nowhere near the person I am now, and that I'm sorry I let my own trauma hurt her, but I have done everything I can to prove that's long behind me. It's completely destroyed her trust in me. I couldn't sit there and lie to my girlfriend's face, but I didn't know it would cause this. Should have never lied in the first place, but I didn't expect it to ruin our entire relationship. She wants to talk in person in a few days, but she's livid, and I think she's gonna end things. I know I effed up, but I'm in a completely different spot now. Probably too late, but I learned my extremely painful lesson. I'm terrified to lose her, but I think I will. I mean, that is the risk when you're not open and honest in a relationship. Hopefully, I'm hoping she'll be understanding, because I don't want to say that the lying was wrong. Okay, that I think we can all agree it was wrong. But you did say that you wouldn't be exclusive and you'd be free to pursue other things over the summer. And you did, but you didn't feel great about it, and so then you decided to lie. And I don't think that's unforgivable, but whether or not she chooses to forgive it is completely up to her. And if she chooses not to, that's unfortunately just a reality you're going to have to accept. But I would just calmly explain yourself, explain where you were at. Oftentimes when we're dealing with traumas and stuff, we're going to make some bad decisions that we regret, and hopefully the people we care about in our lives will understand that, and we can work through it and rebuild trust. So I hope that things work out. I think you did the right thing by finally coming clean. I don't think it's an F-up, but the F-up before, lying before, definitely was. I can understand why you would, but yeah, that might unfortunately be just a bit too much for her, so hope it works out. Story 3. My boyfriend secretly destroyed my hobbies because he was jealous of me spending time with them instead of him. This is honestly the weirdest thing I've ever experienced and have no idea what to do. So I, 21 female, have a lot of hobbies. I'm sort of what you might call a hobby collector, LOL, but my top ones right now are running, training for a marathon, baking, reading, and doing something called junk journaling. Not sure if anyone's familiar. Specifically, reading I've been doing since I was a young teenager. This started about 6 months ago when I saw that several of my old books were dog-eared, which I don't do to my books. I asked my boyfriend if he had read them, which I would be totally fine with, but he insisted he hadn't touched them. Odd, but whatever. Then after that, I literally could never find my running shoes. I bought a rather expensive pair and keep them separate from my other shoes because I'm a nurse and my hospital shoes are nasty, laugh my butt off. But the running shoes I could never find. They would always turn up on days later, though, somewhere I definitely hadn't put them. Again, odd, but whatever. And then my journal got completely destroyed. Somehow it was left outside in our garage where it is known to leak when it rains. It didn't necessarily get water damage, but the moisture made all the pages peel up and practically 28 pages ruined. The pages take me over an hour each, and I'm quite proud of them. 28 plus hours of my artwork ruined. This is so stupid, but I genuinely started to believe the house was haunted, laughed my butt off. I did shed a few tears over my journal, and my boyfriend rolled his eyes at that, but helped me glue them all back down and salvage as much as possible. I had a fleeting thought that he put out there, but it was honestly so weird, I was like, why would he? Then it was back to my books. I have a huge bookshelf with about 200 plus books because I read daily. I started to notice one by one they were effing disappearing, like straight up gone. I searched every corner of the house and could not find them. I even texted all three of my sisters, my brother, and my boyfriend's sister asking if they had borrowed any and didn't tell me. They all said they hadn't. My boyfriend's sister borrows my books often, but she always asks and insisted she didn't have any. When this happened, I was like, what the F? And then it was my baking. I could never find my mixers or my baking sheets or anything whenever I wanted to bake. The final straw, though, was when I found my KitchenAid mixer broken, literally just would not turn on. And if you don't know, those things are expensive. I straight up asked him, did you do this? Like, why is all my crap broken or lost recently? He finally admitted to purposely hiding or breaking my things because my hobbies annoy him. I'm not gonna lie. I exploded. I told him he was a weirdo for touching my stuff and that it was honestly so strange to do this as an adult. He proceeded to defend himself, saying that I was spending more time on my made-up hobbies than with him, and this was the only way to make me focus on our relationship again. Which, for context, isn't true at all. We still have a great relationship, I thought. We go on dates twice a week, we have intercourse regularly, we get along with each other's families and friends. Like, I'm so confused. We've been together for 2 whole years. I love him so much, and other than this odd behavior, he's so good to me. After their argument, I was genuinely so distraught that I left the house and went to my sister's house, who lived together. They also agreed it was the oddest thing in the world. The icing on the effing cake when I got home this morning was that he threw out all of my crap. Cut the soles out of running shoes, cut the laces, threw out my Apple Watch, destroyed the baking things, cut the silicone molds, the box that all my missing books were in the effing dumpster with all of my other journal supplies. The journal he helped me fix was torn to shreds. I genuinely started to sob. I know it sounds dumb and overdramatic, but I genuinely worked so hard on my journal that it made me cry. Literally hundreds of dollars and some of my favorite books in the trash. Money spent on baking supplies, which I used to bake for my baby cousin's elementary school, ruined. I just don't understand what's wrong with him. He's never been like this before, ever. I'm genuinely so effing confused what has gotten into him. What do I do? What has gotten into him? Is it something else he could be projecting? I'm genuinely so confused. So, this is unhinged behavior from the boyfriend. Like, completely inexcusable. And also, just tells me in my heart that your boyfriend is just the most dependent, uninteresting person that I could imagine in my head. Because why doesn't he have his own hobbies and stuff? Why is he so reliant on you for entertainment and everything? Like, yeah, couples can do a lot of stuff together, but they should also have their own crap that they're allowed to do. And let's say, for an instance, that the person writing this was focusing way more on hobbies and ignoring the boyfriend. Here's 2 options for what the boyfriend could do. Start destroying this person's hobbies, gaslighting them into thinking that they're losing their stuff and it's just breaking or whatever, or having a conversation with your partner about how you feel. He has chosen the stupidest option. An option that I would say that no matter how much I had loved this person, if they had broken my trust to this degree, that might almost be worth immediate breakup. Because if I can't trust you with all this other stuff, how can I trust anything else about you? That you've lied on this scale has just destroyed any trust I would have in a person. So, I don't know. I hope things have worked out as best as they can for this person, whatever that means for them. Story 4. I scrubbed our toilet with my ex's toothbrushes. Boyfriend of almost 10 years decided to leave for another woman, a foreign younger woman. We shared a home together, so while we still lived there, I took every toothbrush he used at that time and scrubbed our toilet. Enjoy Frenching my toilet, homewrecker. That's not all I did while we still lived together. I adopted a cat to deal with the breakup, but she has an issue with peeing. I took his concert shirt and cleaned up the pee. He also came home one day with a Tupperware of homemade cooked food, most likely from her. When he was finished with it and had cleaned it and put it in the drying rack, I spit and coughed in it. A few days later, I thought to myself, it's missing something. So I rubbed my private lips all over the rim of his Tupperware. A month before the breakup, he went to a wedding as guests. He didn't have a suit, so I bought him a very nice $400 suit as an early birthday present. Know what I did? I took some scissors and cut the buttons just enough so that the next time he used it, the buttons would fall off. Yes, I am petty and bitter. I will never put this much effort into another man again. I mean, it sounds like this person deserved maybe some of that. Some of the other stuff there's a lot of unsanitary stuff here that I just can't handle it personally, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. I will try to encourage the high road of the best revenge is a life well lived. Just show this person that it's like, oh hey, I know you were part of my life for 10 years, but turns out without you here, my life is actually so much better. It's never been this good. Glad you're gone. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.